Okay, so welcome back. In this part we are going to be creating the functionality that allows the user to change their password. So the reason I've got the register page open that we did earlier in this series is because we're going to take some aspects of this and apply it to the change password page. Essentially all we're going to have is a form. The user is going to be able to enter their current password for security, just in case they've left their account logged on. Their new password and the new password repeated. We're going to process that in more or less exactly the same way as we've done on the register page. So we are checking if the data has been posted. We're setting the required fields, which will be all of them, and then we're going to, check if they're empty, blah 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 blah, things like that. And then obviously if there's any errors we're going to output them. If it's successful, we're going to call a change password function, change the user's password and redirect them to a success page like we did just down here. So if is set success, you've been registered successfully, we'll just say we've changed your password and everything like that. Okay, so we'll keep register.php open in case we need to refer back to it, but let's go ahead and create a new file and just go ahead and create some PHP tags. Save this as changepassword.php in our root directory, so we're going to be linking to this. So over here, this change password link will go to changepassword.php. We've just created it, there's nothing on there, so we'll need to go ahead and copy over a template. So I'm just going to go over to the index page and copy this over. And I'm just going to say change password, and I'll get rid of that paragraph there. Now before we do anything else, we need to take into account the fact that users that aren't logged in, obviously there's no point in them being able to access this page, so we need to protect this page against users that aren't logged in. So I'm going to use the protect page function that we created in the last part. And let's go ahead and check this out. So let's go ahead and click change password. We've got this page. Let's log out and just check this. There we go. So perfect. I'll go ahead and log back in, and let's start working on this. So the first thing we're going to work on is the form. Obviously we need to create a form, the ability to submit the data, then we'll go through all the necessary checks. So let's go ahead and start to build the form, not the from. So the action is the current page. We're going to be posting the data to this page to have it checked. The method's going to be post. We're going to create an unordered list again, much like we did for the for the registration form. So we need 3 of these. And inside of here, what do we need? Well, we need the current password. So I'm going to say current password. I'm just going to place an asterisk before that. Line break down to the field. So input type. This is going to be, now we can obviously either type in text or password. I'm going to be choosing the password field. In fact, I'm going to be choosing the text field for now, just so we can see what we're entering into the forms for the purpose of the tutorial. But when it comes to actually applying this to your site, you're going to want to change this to password, and I'll be doing that at the end anyway. Hopefully I don't forget. So the type is text, sorry, and the name of this is just going to be current_password. Let's go down and do the same thing here, and let's just change this. So we're just copying and pasting to be a bit more efficient. In fact, we'll just call this password. We won't call the field new password, just makes it longer. And then new password again, and I'll just say password underscore again. Okay, so now we have a form here, sorry, current password, new password, and new password again. Let's just go ahead and pop a submit button in here, and then that'll be the end of it. So the input type is submit. The value is going to be change password. Makes sense? Okay, so this is our form. At the moment, like I said, we can see any data that we're entering into here, which is fine. Now let's go ahead and submit this through and start to validate the fields. So the validation is probably the most trickiest part. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you're validating your password the same way that you're validating your passwords on your register.php file, your registration page. Obviously the reason being is that you know, we've got here that the string length of the password must be at least 6, so we have to have at least 6 characters in the password. If then when you ask the user to enter a new password you don't do this, you know, it's pointless even allowing them to do this in the first place. So if you want the user to change their password, you need to take into account that, you know, you need to apply the same rules here or here as you have done here. Obviously it's bad, it's probably, you know, not great that we're doing this twice and sort of duplicating this functionality over. We might have say a global function that allows us to check password strength and then return whether it's okay or not, and then, you know, but, you know, we'll do it in this way, and then that's something to come later, I guess. Okay, so we've got this. Now what do we want to do? Well, up here we want to go ahead and start to check everything. In fact, we need to do it just here. So we're first of all going to say if empty post is equal to false, so has the data been posted. Let's just go ahead and echo A out, just so we know that everything's working. Click on there, A has been echoed, so that's fine. We know that the form's submitting and that we're checking the data. Now we're going to define some required fields, so we're going to do exactly as we did here. In fact, I'm just going to copy it and paste it. It makes it a lot easier. So required fields equals array, and we have an array of required fields. Now which fields are required here? All of them. So let's go ahead and say current password, and password again. Now you might be thinking, well, if they're all required, why can't we just do one big check to check that all the form fields are required? Well, you never know. You might later on want to add another field that isn't required. For example, why are you changing your password? And the user might be able to give optional text as to why they're changing it. You know, anything like that. That's an example. But so we're doing this now so we can later on makes it easier for us. So now we need to do what we've done here in this for each loop, and we need to check whether, you know, the form fields that we've specified are required. So again, I'm just going to be a bit lazy and paste this in, but let me just go over it again just in case you forgot or you need a refresher. So for every item that we post, i.e. current password, password, and pass again as key value. Now key is the array key, so or the name of this. So this key in the first loop will be current password, in the second loop it will be password, and the value is the actual value that the user's entered into this text field. If it's empty, so if they haven't entered anything in the specific field and it's in array, if it's in the array that's required, then you know, they haven't entered one field, then we break, because we, you know, the first instance of not finding something, we need to throw an error. So that's basically it for that. Let's go ahead and just check this out. So I'm going to go ahead and print R errors, and another reminder, just remember that inside of our core init folder we've got this defined already, because we're using it on you know, we're going to be using it on lots of pages, so we define it up there, so we don't need to do it again and again in each page. So print R errors, that's just going to print the array that we're storing of errors. So if I click change password, fields marked with an asterisk are required. If I go ahead and type A, and A, change password, no errors. So we know that that works now. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do the rest of our validation. It's not too tricky, but let's go ahead and make a start. So we first of all now want to make sure that the password and the password again match. Okay, we obviously want to check if the actually, yeah, we'll probably do whether the current password is correct. So let's go ahead and do that. So if now we need to check whether the current password that the user's entered matches the current password that they're actually using. So where do we get this data from? Well, if you remember, inside of core and init, we called our user data function and we passed through all of the data that we wanted to grab from the user, and we allowed access to this. And we get access to this using user underscore data, this variable just here, and then we, because it's an array that we're storing, we just choose there what we want. So how do we take advantage of this and use it inside of here? Well, in fact, let's go ahead and get rid of this if statement and just echo user data password. Now this will be the password that's stored in the database, so there we go. We've got this being echoed out now. This is the MD5 hash of the password that I'm using, which is just password. So we can use this to check the user has entered the correct current password. So what we need to do is we need to encrypt the password that they type in and compare it to the encrypted password in our database. So if MD5 of what we encrypting, well, $_post current password is equal to, or sorry, is not equal to user data password. So we're encrypting the current password that the user's entered in the field, and we're comparing that to the encrypted password. So they're both being encrypted, so therefore we will get a match if both of the plain texts match up. So if they do match, do something. Otherwise, we need to store an error here. So errors equals your current password is incorrect. Correct. There we go. Okay, so otherwise we want to do something else. I'm going to just echo fine, for example. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and enter my current password incorrectly, which is, I'm just going to type Apple. A new password, I'm just going to type anything, because otherwise we'll get an error returned. So, change password, fine, it says here. Oh, that's wrong. Let's go ahead and check what's going on here. So if MD5... Oh, sorry, is equal to. Right, okay, so let's start again. If it's equal to the current password, then that's fine. Otherwise, if it's not equal to, we append an error to that array. So, Apple, AA, change password, your current password is incorrect. Brilliant, that's what we wanted. Now, my actual password is just password, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click change password now with the correct current password in, and we've got no errors, and we just echo fine out. So we've done this first check, and we've gone along to make sure that, that's right. That's fine. Perfect. Now, within this block here, we want to go ahead and do some further checks. So this will be that the two new passwords match up correctly, that the two new passwords are both greater than 6 characters, blah, 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 things like that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that they match. And we'll be doing that in the next part of this short change password part of the series, simply because we've run over time. So let's go ahead and take a look at that in the next part.